EQ is a nickname for emotional intelligence. And the way I define emotional intelligence is three main components. It's the ability to recognize yourself. Then it's your ability to read situations and people accurately. And then your ability to respond most appropriately based on how you're reading the responses you're getting from other people or reading the environment that you're in. And I always say comfort zone is the enemy of EQ, because comfort zone is what makes it all about me, right? That's my ego. My ego is, well, I'm not comfortable in social situations because I'm an introvert, so I'm just going to avoid all of those. That's not very emotionally intelligent if the situation really calls for me to be fairly social in the moment. But EQ would ask you, what is in it for you to go back? Why would you go backwards when you have this opportunity to move forward? So even though it might be a little bit hard or challenging or uncomfortable, it doesn't mean it's not worth doing. But research has shown that, and what I have found in my own experience working with people is, as you raise your emotional intelligence, you get happier. A lot of companies like to interview for what they call fit. So they interview for culture fit. And when you get too much of the same, of course, you have all the same strengths, but then you also have all the same weaknesses. You don't have that person who's thinking differently, who's challenging what the common group think is happening. So you do want to bring in diversity of thought and approach, but ideally somebody who also has the emotional intelligence to know how to do it. One of the skills within EQ is optimism. And there's been a lot of research that has shown salespeople with high optimism outsell 2-to-1 those with lower optimism. And that there was an Ohio longitudinal study done with residents of Ohio, and they were able to prove that those that with positive attitudes on aging lived 7.5 years longer. We know now that people can learn to be optimists. You tend to underestimate the impact of what are very small, sometimes gestures or small events in your mind that you never think about. But I was communicating with a client in a health services company, and the CEO had been out to visit one of the communities, and he was getting interviewed. And so he had the media there, and it was kind of a big event. And so he did his thing and left. And I talked to somebody afterward, after he left, and I said, how did it go? And she said, it was a little disappointing because he didn't stay. Afterward, we won Community of the Year for the company last year. He didn't really stop and think, hey, what can I do while I'm here? Because to them, they were watching every move he made while he was there, but by him not really stopping and acknowledging them, they felt completely invisible. The power that the business owner or the senior executive has when they stop and really stay connected to what's happening in their organization. What we're seeing now is there's actually some hard evidence that shows that people with higher EQ make more money. One study shows an average of $29,000 more a year is earned with higher emotional intelligence.